Adiutorium nostrum in nomine Domini. We continue. Pope Leo XII, Quo Graviora, on secret societies. We left off picking up the letter of Pope Pius VII, and we left off on page 10 on the bottom. A long time ago, this Holy See, once these sects had been discovered, cried with a great and unbridled voice against them, and exposed their plans, which had been devised secretly by them against what? Religion. Indeed, against civil society. Long ago it called forth the attentiveness of all, that they might beware lest it be allowed to these sects, or Masonic lodges, to attempt that which they were heinously contemplating. Indeed, it must have grieved these endeavors of the Holy See, not to have answered that destruction which it was observing, and that wicked men had not desisted from their acknowledged plan, once they at long last attained to those evils which we ourselves have perceived. Indeed, men whose arrogance has always melted have dared to begin new secret societies. Continue, Michael.
Mention must be made in this place of a society recently born and propagated far and wide in Italy and in other regions, which although it has been divided into several sects, and according to their variety, it sometimes assumes names among themselves different and distinct. Nevertheless, because the entity is a communion of opinions and crimes, and because a certain pact has been entered into, is one, and is generally accustomed to go under the name of the Carbonary. Indeed, they simulate a singular respect and a certain extraordinary zeal towards the Catholic religion and toward the person and doctrine of Jesus Christ our Savior, whom at times they also impiously dare to call the rector and great teacher of this society. But these ways of speaking, which are seen to be more slippery than oil, are nothing other than darts employed by crafty men, who come in sheep's clothing, but are ravenous wolves inside, for more securely wounding the too little cautious.
So who do they actually dare to call their teacher and rector?
Christ himself.
Yeah, we're followers of Christ. Wow, very slippery. And the Pope is exposing this. Yeah, some of these Masonic lodges have stained glass windows of Christ, images of Christ, but they don't like his wounds. Go on, Guadalupe.
Surely, that most severe oath by which, imitating for the most part the ancient Priscillianists, they promise that they at no time ever, or no case, either are going to expose to men not enrolled in the society anything which regards the society, and are going to share with those who are in the lower degrees anything which pertains to the higher decrees. In addition, those clandestine and furthermore illegitimate assemblies which they have, after the manner employed by many heretics, and the selection of men of whatever religion and sect into their society, even if other things were not available, sufficiently convinced that it is necessary to have no confidence in their related discourses.
Go on.
But it is not necessary by conjectures and indications that it be judged such concerning their sayings, as it was pointed out above. Books published by these very types, in which the procedure is described, which is accustomed to be used in the meetings, especially of the higher degrees, their catechisms, statutes, and other authentic and credible documents, and in fact, the testimony of those who, when they had abandoned that society to which they had previously adhered, revealed its errors and frauds to legitimate judges, had declared openly that the Carbonari particularly incline in such a way that they give to each other one great license for devising by his own genius and from his own ideas for himself a religion which he may practice. Once indifference to religion has been introduced, than which hardly anything more destructive can be contrived, such that they profane and defile the passion of Jesus Christ by certain of their impious ceremonies, that they despise the sacraments of the church, for which they seem to substitute other new things invented by themselves through their supreme wickedness, and despise the very mysteries of the Catholic religion, and that they overthrow this apostolic see against which, because on it the sovereignty of the apostolic chair has always flourished, they are roused by a certain unparalleled hate, and they devise every dangerous destructive plot.
So yes, some of these lodges have phony aping of the Catholic sacraments. Mormons have this too. These phony sacraments that mimic the Catholic sacraments. And no wonder the one behind the new sacraments of Paul VI, no wonder he was a Freemason, because he would know all about cutting out the real sacraments and mimicking and giving a new name to the sacraments. While it still looks very similar, but it's not the same. And that's why to call in a blanket form all these new sacraments valid, it's a rash. There's at least doubt for many of them. And the most reliable and what's the most difficult sacrament to mess up?
Baptism.
Yeah, but even that has been messed up by the new, right? There's many cases where it was an invalid baptism. Even Rome, modernist Rome, pronounced 2 of them invalid in the case of 2 ordained novice ordo priests. So they had to be re-baptized and reordained and reconfirmed in the new sacraments. But go on, Anthony.
And the precepts concerning morals, which the Society of the Carbonari hand on, are not, as it is certain from their monuments, less wicked, although it boasts confidently that it demands from its own followers that they cultivate and exercise charity and every kind of virtue, and abstain from every vice. Therefore it promotes sensual pleasure most shamelessly. It teaches that it is licit to kill those who have not kept the trust offered concerning the secret, which was mentioned above. And although Peter, the prince of the apostles, decrees that Christians be subject to every human creature on account of God, whether to the king as preeminent, whether to the magistrates as ambassadors to them, etc. And although Paul the apostle commands that every soul be subject to higher powers, nevertheless that society teaches that it is allowed, once revolts have been provoked, to deprive of their power kings and other rulers, whom most unjustly it dares indiscriminately to call tyrants.
Yes. So the Freemasons, they attack lawful authority. They promote sensuality, hence the movies, the theater, and now with internet, pornography. They really rot the masses and the rotten public schools. And then what else do? They can kill, they can cross my heart, hope to die, stick a needle in my eye. Ever heard that?
Yes.
You know, kids do that playing games, but it's actually a spin-off of the Masonic secret oaths they make. That if I reveal any secrets of the Masonic Lodge, you can kill me. That's what they promise. So Bishop Williamson used to mention in England, sometimes they would find murders of men hanging off the London Bridge with a cut from ear to ear, here. A cut, sliced, which is a sign of Masonic murder. So somebody betrayed their secret oath. So they found him sliced. So they have their markings. And that's immoral, isn't it? To promise that you agree to be killed rather than break the secrets of the lodge. So that's one of the reasons why the church condemns it, because it puts people in a position of, they have to speak. If there's evil, they have to speak. And they can't say anything, and if they do, they're under this coercion of silence by threatening of death. Go on. Go on, Anthony.
These and other dogmas and precepts of this society are the ones from which those crimes newly committed by the Carbonari have emerged, which have brought such intense grief to honest and pious men. We, therefore, who have been constituted as the guardian of the house of Israel, which is Holy Church, and who in accord with our pastoral office ought to beware lest the Lord's flock divinely entrusted to us suffer any harm. Consider in a case so serious that we cannot abstain from repressing the filthy undertakings of men. We are also moved by the example of Clement XII and Benedict XIV, our predecessors of happy memory, of whom the one on the 28th day of April of the year of 1738, by the Constitution in eminenti, the other on the 18th day of March 1751 by the Constitution Providas, have condemned and proscribed the societies de liberi Oratory, or Franc-Maçon, or called by whatever other name according to the variety of regions and idioms, of which societies the Society of the Carbonari must be considered perhaps the offspring, or certainly the imitation.
Okay, so the popes, he's saying they condemn these Freemasonic lodges. Whatever names they take, they're condemned because of their secrecy. Go on.
And although we have already gravely prohibited this society with 2 edicts published through our Secretary of State, nevertheless, following our above-mentioned predecessors, we think that severe penalties must be decreed with a formality, indeed more solemnly against this society, especially since the Carbonari indiscriminately maintain that they are not included in those 2 constitutions of Clement XII and Benedict XIV, and that they are not subject to the judgments and penalties proposed in them.
Yeah, so the Carbonari are saying, well, we're not, the Pope didn't name us, so we're not under that condemnation. So they're slippery characters. Go on, Michael.
Therefore, now that the select congregation of our venerable brothers of the Cardinals of the Holy Roman Church has been heard, indeed from its council, and also by our own motion, and from our certain knowledge and mature deliberation, indeed from the fullness of our apostolic power, we have decreed and ordained that the Society of the Carbonari, mentioned above, or called by any other name whatever, its assemblies, meetings, gatherings, fellowship, or associations must be condemned and prohibited, accordingly as we condemn and prescribe by our present constitution, forever valid.
So now he's pinning down, this is still Pope Pius VII, he's pinning down, okay, Carbonari, you tried to wiggle out of this one, but you also, and all your meetings and secret things or gatherings are condemned and forbidden. And the state of Italy, or whatever country, the state should have cooperated with the church to suppress these. But in some cases they didn't. They just thought, oh, the Pope is exaggerating. But they paid for it later by the revolutions, where they chopped the head off of anybody who opposed their new regime. Go on, Michael.
Wherefore, we order strictly, and in virtue of holy obedience, each and every faithful of Christ, of whatever state, grade, condition, order, dignity, and preeminence, be they the laity or clerics, both seculars and regulars, and even these worthy of specific and individual mention.
Secular clergy are those under the local diocesan bishops. Regulars are those who live a regular rule of life in a religious house. That's what it means. Go on.
that anyone under whatever pretext or special condition not dare or presume to join or propagate, to foster the society of the Carbonari mentioned above, or otherwise named, and to admit and hide in their dwellings, or their homes, or any other places, should be enrolled in, to adhere to, or to take part in it. Indeed, whatever degree of it, or to give opportunity or convenience, that it may be convened in any place, to furnish it with anything, or otherwise to offer counsel, aid, or goodwill, openly or in secret, directly or indirectly, per se or through others, in any way whatever. Likewise, no one may dare or presume to exhort, induce, provoke, or persuade others to be inscribed in, be reckoned as part of, or be among a society of this kind, or any degree of it. Nor are they to help and thus support in any way whatever. On the contrary, they must absolutely abstain themselves from the same society and its assemblies, meetings, fellowships, or associations, under pain of excommunication, needing to be incurred ipso facto, without any declaration, by all those offending as above, from which no one is able to obtain the favor of absolution through anyone except us, or the Roman pontiff reigning at the time, save one determined to be at the point of death.
Right, so whoever joins the Carbonari, these Masonic lodges, incur ipso facto, by that fact, excommunication, which only the Pope can absolve. So heavy. The Pope is very clear here, isn't he? You don't play games with these dark lodges. Go on, Guadalupe.
Furthermore, we order all under the same pain of excommunication reserved to us and our successors, the Roman pontiffs, that they are held to declare to the bishops, or to others whom it pertains, all those whom they know to have joined in this society, or to have defiled themselves by any one of the crimes mentioned above.
Go on.
Finally, that every danger of error may efficaciously be prevented, we condemn and proscribe that all, as they call them, catechisms and books of the Carbonari, and we forbid, under the same pain of major excommunication, reserved in the same way, every one of the faithful to read or to possess the books mentioned above. And we command that they hand over those materials, either to the ordinaries or to others, to whom the right of receiving them pertains.
Yeah, so anyone having their books even incur punishment. Very thorough. Go on.
We will, however, that absolutely the same faith which would be applied to the original letter, if they would be produced or shown, is to be applied to duplicates. Likewise, printed copies of the present letter signed by the hand of some public notary, and secured by the seal of a person constituted in ecclesiastical dignity. It is allowed to no man to falsify this letter of our declaration, condemnation, mandate, prohibition, and interdict, or to oppose it by a rash boldness. But if anyone presumes to attempt this, let him know that he will incur the wrath of Almighty God and of his blessed apostles Peter and Paul. Given at Rome in St. Mary Major in the 1821st year of the incarnation of our Lord, on the 13th day of September and the 26th of our planet.
So that's Pope Pius the VII laying down the law here. So there's no playing with these Masonic lodges. The popes are very clear. Stay out of them. They are pernicious, they are evil, and anyone who joins them or holds even their books will incur punishment. So that's pretty serious business, isn't it? And as one of you brought out, when the modernists in Rome lifted the excommunication to join the Freemasonic lodges, By that fact, they incur the anger of Almighty God and His blessed apostles Peter and Paul. By lifting the excommunication, that's a serious affront to all the previous popes who condemned Freemasonry. Paragraph 7, Anthony.
Not long after the Constitution published by Pius VII, we were elevated to the topmost chair of Blessed Peter by no merits of ours.
So who's speaking now? We?
Right now it's Pope Leo XII.
Yes, now it's Leo, back to Leo XII speaking.
And immediately we turned our attention to exposing what the state of clandestine sects was, what their number was, what their poser was. Inquiring about these things, we easily understood that their arrogance had grown principally on account of the multitude of them, increased by the new sects. From which sects that one must especially be mentioned, which is called Universitaria, because it has a seat and domicile in many universities of learning, in which the young are informed, initiated to, and fashioned for every crime by some teachers, who are zealous not to teach them, but to pervert them by the mysteries of the same sect, which ought to be called most truly the mysteries of iniquity.
So what is he saying here?
Talking about a special Masonic sect that is established in universities to attract the youth.
Yes, having a terrible influence on the young people, and most likely the men who were there. Before, it was only men who went to universities anyway. In the Middle Ages, it was mostly clerics. So here they are, they have a frat house on the campus, and they're recruiting members. And they still do this. All the Masonic lodges, they still recruit talented young men. They see their talents, they see their gifts, they see their grades, and they invite them. And they give them the red carpet treatment. One of my own nephews was invited by the Masonic lodges in this way. And fortunately, my brother caught on to what was going on and put an end to it. But that's how they work. They're slippery characters. Anthony, go on.
From this it indeed appears that even after so long a time, since the flames of revolution were enkindled and spread abroad, indeed after the remarkable victories reported by the powerful princes of Europe, by which those flames were expected to be extinguished, their wicked undertakings still have not known an end. For in these very regions in which the early storms seem to have quieted, what fear there is of new disturbances and seditions, which those sects continually devise, such dread of the impious daggers, which they secretly fix in the bodies of those whom they assign to death, how many and how grave the things, even against their will, are they who ruled with power over the same ones, not rarely forced to decree for safeguarding public peace.
Yeah, so so he's mentioning those members who broke their oaths have been found dead with daggers in them. A mark of Masonic murder. Go.
From this the most painful calamities come forth, by which the church is everywhere fiercely plagued, and which we are not able to relate without pain, without deep sorrow. Its holy dogmas and precepts are fought against most shamelessly, its dignity is diminished, and that peace and happiness which it ought to enjoy by a certain right of its own was not only being disturbed, but is totally destroyed. Nor must it be thought that all these evils, and others which have been omitted by us, are attributed to these clandestine sects surely through calumny. Books which they do not hesitate to write about religion and the state have been published in their name, with which they scorn dominion, blaspheme majesty. Moreover, they declare repeatedly that Christ is either a scandal or foolish, indeed, not rarely, that there is no God, and they teach that the soul of man dies together with the body. The codes and statutes by which they explain their goals and ordinances openly declare that all the things which we have already mentioned, and which pertain to the overthrowing of legitimate rulers, and totally destroying the church, come forth from them. And this has been ascertained, and must be considered as certain, that these sects, although in name different, nevertheless have been joined among themselves by an impious bond of filthy goals.
Yeah, so among these goals is attack the Catholic religion, discredit the bishops, discredit the priests when they were good bishops and priests, discredit the Pope, and when these were good popes, discredit the lawful governors of countries and leaders, and foment revolution. That's the work of the lodges. So perverse books that present the new philosophies: liberty, equality, fraternity, separation of church and state. The church wants to keep you from seeing the light. That's why it promotes condemnation of liberty of the press. And the church wants to keep you from seeing truth and reality. They attack the church in a subtle way. These rats. All right, go on, Michael.
Since matters are in such a state, we judge it to be the character of our office to condemn these clandestine sects again, and in such a manner indeed, that no one of them can boast that they are not encompassed by our apostolic pronouncement, and under this pretext lead careless and less sagacious men into error. Therefore, from the council of our venerable brethren, the cardinals of the Holy Roman Church, and also by our own motion, indeed, with our certain knowledge and mature consideration, we forbid forever, under the same penalties which are contained in the letters of our predecessors, already reported in this our Constitution, which letters we expressly confirm that all secret societies, those which now are, and those which perhaps will afterwards sprout out, and which propose themselves against the Church, and against the highest civil powers, those things which we have mentioned above, by whatever name they may finally be called.
Guadalupe?
Wherefore we order strictly and in virtue of holy obedience, each and every faithful of Christ of whatever state, grade, condition, order, dignity, and preeminence, be they the laity or clerics, both seculars and regulars, and even those worthy of specific and individual mention, that anyone, under whatever pretext or special condition, may not dare or presume to join or propagate or to foster the societies mentioned above, or by whatever name that they may be called, and to admit and hide in their dwellings or in their homes or any place, to be enrolled in, to adhere to, or to take part in them, indeed to whatever degree of the same, or to give opportunity or convenience that they may be assembled in any place, to furnish the same with anything, or otherwise to offer counsel, aid, or goodwill, openly or in secret, directly or indirectly, per se, or through others in any way whatever. Likewise, no one may dare or presume to exhort, induce, provoke, or persuade others to be inscribed in, be reckoned as part of, or be among societies of this kind, or any degree of the same, nor are they to help and thus support them in any way whatever. On the contrary, they must absolutely abstain from the same societies in their assemblies, meetings, fellowships, or associations, under pain of excommunication to be incurred ipso facto, without any declaration by all those offending as above, from which no one is able to obtain the favor of absolution through anyone except us, or the Roman pontiff reigning at that time, save one determined to be at the point of death.
So, the excommunication can only be lifted by whom?
The Pope.
Right. That's how serious the church is clamping down on these secret societies. And little would the Pope ever dream that priests, bishops, cardinals would eventually become Freemasons themselves, right under the nose of the Pope. Read on, Anthony.
Furthermore, we order all under the same pain of excommunication reserved to us and our successors, the Roman pontiffs, that they are held to declare to the bishops or to others whom it concerns, all those whom they know to have joined the society, or to have defiled themselves by any one of the crimes just mentioned above. In fact, we explicitly condemn and declare invalid particularly that clearly impious and accursed oath, by which they bind those who are received into these sects, that they will reveal to none those things which pertain to those sects, and that they will strike with death all those members who expose those things to their superiors, either ecclesiastics or laity.
Yeah, so what are they saying here, the Pope?
He's condemning and saying that the oath that the Freemasons take to keep whatever happens in the meetings, to keep that secret, he's saying that oath doesn't hold. It's not an actual oath. It's not valid.
Yes, and it's an evil oath. Why?
Because of the fact that that you promise, they make you promise that if you don't keep it, they have the right to kill you.
That's right. Yeah, that's one of the main reasons why the popes condemned this. Go on.
For what reason? Is not an oath which must be sworn in justice, in order to establish, as it were, a contract by which someone obliges himself to an unjust murder, and in order to despise the authority of those who, when they regulate either the church or legitimate civil society, have the right of discerning those things in which the salvation of those societies consists, contrary to divine law? Isn't it the most unjust and the greatest indignity to call God as a witness and surety of crimes? Most recently, the fathers of the Lateran Council 3 have said, "For they must not be called oaths, but rather perjuries, which are taken against ecclesiastical utility and the ordinances of the most holy fathers." End quote. And the shamelessness and madness of the ones among these men, who, when they say not just in their heart, but also openly and in their public writings, quote, "There is not a God," end quote, dare nevertheless demand an oath from all those whom they select for their sects. These things have been established for suppressing and condemning all these ravening and criminal sects. But now we not only request, but demand your service, venerable brothers, the Catholic patriarchs, primates, archbishops, and bishops. Be attentive for yourselves and for the universal flock, over which the Holy Ghost has placed you as bishops to rule the church of God. Devouring wolves indeed will seize upon you, not sparing the flock. But do not fear, not consider your life more precious than yourselves. Maintain that sacred truth that the constancy of the men entrusted to you in religion depends for the most part on you and on things done rightly. For although we may live in those days which are evil, and in that time in which many do not maintain sound doctrine, nevertheless the obedience of very many faithful to their pastors endures, whom they receive with reason as ministers of Christ and dispensers of his mysteries. Use therefore this authority for the advantage of your sheep, which you maintain over their souls by an imperishable honor of God.
So, bishops, use your authority for what?
To protect the flock. You have to protect the flock.
That's right. Feed the flock, protect them, keep the wolves away. That's the true use of ecclesiastical authority. Happy days, huh? Now they use their authority to harm the sheep, to give them rocks instead of bread, scorpions instead of eggs, by the new Mass and the new doctrines and the new catechisms. Make known to yourselves, go on,
the deceits of the sext, and with how much diligence they must guard against them in their social intercourse. Let them dread their perverse doctrine, which mocks the most holy mysteries of our religion and the most pure precepts of Christ, and which attacks every legitimate power, while you act as their models and teachers. And finally, let us exhort you with the words of our predecessor, Clement XII, in his encyclical letter to all the patriarchs, primates, archbishops, bishops of the Catholic Church of the 14th day of September of the year of 1758. Quote,
so he's quoting who now?
Clement the 12th.
Yeah, go on.
let us be filled, I pray, with the power of the Spirit of the Lord, with discernment and with virtue, lest just as dumb dogs not having the power to bark, we suffer our flocks to be as pillage and our sheep forage for the beast of the field.
Okay, what a powerful imagery. What is he using as an image?
Dogs who cannot bark.
When thieves break in, right? So that's the duty of bishops and priests, is to bark. That's why silent priests and bishops are a scourge. You see that? Go on.
And let not anything detain us from giving ourselves up to all battles for the glory of God and the salvation of souls. Let us consider him who underwent such great contradiction against himself by sinners. But if we fear the boldness of those wicked ones, it has been from the force of the episcopate and from the sublime and divine power of governing the church. But neither are we able to remain much longer or be any longer Christians, if it has come to this point that we are terrified at the threats and the artifices of the destroyers." End quote.
So you're not worthy of the name Catholic or Christian if you're afraid of the wolves. Go on, Michael.
We demand also.
Okay, we'll pick up there next time. So, wow, he's not pulling any punches, is he?
No.
With these Masons. Adjutorium nostrum in nomine Domini.